Manchester United 3, Real Betis 2. A very good performance this evening from Man United in the most part. Ahmad standing out again in his preseason tour. Rashford looking sharp. Casemiro having a good game. Some good performance from the youngsters. And the question is Ten Hag ball finally starting to be born at Manchester United? I'm joined by KJ, who's here with me now. Viewers, hit like buttons. Viewers, make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. KJ, what did you make of Man United tonight?
Bro, it was actually nice to see us play some good football. The way that we played was probably the best football we've seen in probably 18 months, almost 2 years. The structure was there. You could see the holding midfielders keeping position. You could see a lot of the wide play with the fullbacks and the wingers was paying off, and we weren't really using the central area to build up, which is good because we had a false nine in Sancho and Scott McTominay in that midfield in that central position. So it's kind of like, okay, let's not build up from there. Let's use our strengths, which are the wide players, and it paid dividends today because Rashford and Ahmad, both brilliant performances today. And that's what we want to see more of going forward. We want to see our team be on the front foot, keep possession, attack from the wings, putting balls into the box, taking on fullbacks. It's just good to see, and I'm liking this performance. I like what I saw from the manager and the players. So hopefully we go on from there. We develop that in the season, and we have a good season this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I was impressed with a lot of what Man United did in the first 50 to 60 minutes. I find I was impressed again with Tom Collier when he came on as an example. I thought he looked excellent. His reading of the game was good. But I think it's always difficult for the youngsters when they come on, in the same as I thought the same for Mason Mount as well, in the sense of when you get a mass change at the same time, there's always like a little bit of disjointedness. Like the game almost, like I was saying to you earlier on with the Chelsea and the Arsenal games that we played, Liverpool games that were played tonight. Once you see the huge amount of subs being made, I almost turn off from assessing it as a team sport and just look at individuals a little bit. But in that opening 50, 60 minutes, we played some really nice football. Our press was excellent. The way we did it as a team, and you could hear Ten Hag screaming at the fullbacks, push up, get alongside Ahmad, get alongside Rashford, which was so different to what we were doing last year. I thought Casemiro had a really good game. Part of that was his passing was on point tonight, but he had people in and around him. And last season, I think there was areas to criticize him in. But where I would always defend Casemiro and where I'll continue to defend him is that he was absolutely hung out to dry by the system last year. The same as most of our midfield players. I mean, there's rumors going around that Kobbie Mainoo couldn't run because he was being caught out of position. And it's just the system was allowing that to happen. But I really enjoyed what we did. Ahmad stood out just impeccable again. He's dribbling, his ability to take a man on, his shooting was on point, scored another goal. And for me, I think he's done enough in pre-season to warrant being the starter on that right-hand side for the opening 2, 3, 4 Premier League games, without doubt. I mean, we did see Anthony come off with what looked like an injury, so that probably strengthens his cause a little bit. I don't think Rashford's injured. A few people asking, do you think Rashford's out? I don't think Rashford's injured. I think he just was like, well, you're coming off in 2 minutes anyway. You might as well do it now. He didn't go down the tunnel. There's no pictures of him sitting there with ice on his foot, just a sore one. So hopefully he's okay. But yeah, as I say, I was impressed with the again, lots of intricate, good one-touch, two-touch football. The build-up play looked nice. We dominated the ball. The press was good, but we did the press at the right times. And I do feel like the influence of Ruud van Nistelrooy and the coaching team is having an impact. We've seen some of the training drills online. We've heard some of the talk, but we're starting to see it. And I saw a lot of United fans online kind of a bit downbeat and negative about the starting lineup. How are we meant to improve when the manager's only being given the same team as last year? And I'd say this. Everybody looked better tonight as we're now getting our fitness up. But there's still Lissandro and Yoro, Shaw, Bruno, Xerxes. There's another person I'm missing. Mainu. Back in. There's those 6 to come back into this team. So this idea that the team that started tonight is going to be the team that starts the Premier League is crazy. Those 6 are coming into it. And I actually think all 6 of those players walk into the first team.
You got Dallo as well.
Dallo coming. I forgot about Dallo. Garnacho. Again, there's names I've forgotten about. So there's so many more players to come back into this team. Now, the interesting thing is these guys haven't actually been doing the drills that the other individuals have, but we know they're better football players. You then have the likelihood of Ugarte, De Ligt, and Matwari coming into the squad as well. So when I think about who is going to come back into this team, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I just now want to see that full integration. And I'm sure all the players that were resting after the Euros are coming back in the next few days. I'm sure Bruno's going to want to play in the Community Shield in 10 days' time or whatever. But look, there's some really good signs for Man United. All I'm hopeful of is that the way we're playing happens when it comes to these competitive games that are coming up, if that makes sense. But yeah, a lot to be positive about tonight, I think.
Yeah, that's my one fear, is that we revert back to type when the season comes around and you see us being super defensive and the holes in midfield and there's no wing play and it's just static. That's why I'm dreading that comes back. But if this stays where it is, because the way that we're playing now, you look at it, you can now see clear solutions to our problems. Whereas before, it's like, oh, what we're going to do about this and this player and how we're going to fix that hole, because let's be honest, no one's a lone 6 anymore in world football. They're very hard to find someone that can cover that much ground by themselves. And all these different problems were arising. But now that you see the new system we're going with, even the simple things like when we're with the ball at the centre backs, both of our holding midfielders are dropped back next to them, instead of having both of them all the way up the pitch with the forwards.
And this is why, although we all get lost in the moment during the season with our teams at times, sometimes it's important to reflect, take stock, and go, hang on, what was the original problems we all saw? And it was the structure of our midfield. We saw improvements at the back end of last season. So as much as people will say, nah, it's ain't Ten Hag, this is rude. And this is what's the other manager's name who's come in? Who's the new assistant? Heck. Oh, it's them. Partly, yes. But also our manager did make the changes towards the end of last season where we started to fill that midfield in more and we were more compact and we had a good run at the end of the season. So from my sort of perspective, I just as Sky has said here, that definitely seen improvements. I won't get carried away because it is preseason, but you're starting to get an idea of how we're going to play. And we've got all those players. And you think about tonight's game, Delo, especially with the pressing, especially with the attacking play, is going to improve us. Imagine how much better we're going to be playing out from the back with Lissandro, Yoro, and/or De Ligt in this team. Imagine how much better the midfield would have been today if Mainu was in the side. And whether like Bruno in down the middle creating, we know what he's capable of. And just say that the 2 wide players start. No disrespect to anybody else that came onto the football pitch, but when you're bringing on the likes of Garnacho, it's a different level to what we have coming on. And I think that, and then you've got some of the youngsters. I think, Tom Collier, for me, I really want to see him given an opportunity next year. Sorry?
Toby Collier.
Toby, sorry, not Tom. Yeah. Sorry, it's late, bruv, or early, which is where you look at it. And Amas. Now, Amas he made a mistake for the goal tonight. Not as bad as the goalkeeper's mistake. He fell asleep, and he's going to learn those things. But overall, another really impressive display from him. But a lot to be excited about. I just now really want to see some more signings happen. Get a few of these things done, get them over the line, and just the bolster this squad. And listen, who knows what we're capable of next year? But we played a decent team tonight. Who it's come 6th or 7th in the league, a decent side. We played good football, and green shoots of progress.
Yeah, there is. And then you mentioned the young players there, like I've been harping on about Oyedele this whole preseason, and him again showing that he's got the quality on the ball. He's defensively, he can be an asset to this team. So what we've got now is some technically sound young players who actually look better on the ball than some of the first teamers. And all they need to do is get physical, and all they need to do is get more physicality about them, get some muscle about them, and then they'll be perfect for the squad. And yeah, going forward, we need to get these sales over the line, because I think that's what's holding us back. We need to see the players in the deadwood that are not helping us this season, and then going forward, be sold. So you got players like Pelestri. You got, I know people love him for whatever reason. Hannibal, he's not off the level. He needs to go. Scott McTominay, Lindelof, like you've got all these guys that are just still here, and we just need them to leave so we can go in and get another centre back. Hopefully 2 more midfielders, and then do we even buy a left back? Because you got Shaw coming. Shaw's fit.
No,
that's just coming back.
We don't need to. It looks like Maswari is coming in. With him coming in, and with Amas needing game time. You know me, I'm someone that says, like, you shouldn't block somebody's pathway. But this is in a scenario where I don't think we need more. I want to see him given an opportunity. So, especially as we're not, unless we're going to go and buy someone who is going to start over Luke Shaw, then I don't see the point. The manager rates Luke Shaw. The club rates Luke Shaw. If he's fit, he's starting. So there's no point dropping 20 or 30 million pounds on a backup when you're going to have Maswari coming in, and then I think you give Amas game time. You give him game time in the League Cup, give him some game time in maybe the early stages of the Europa League if we can, and see how he progresses. On the youngsters, you also mentioned him as well, but yeah, I do like his name is Oyedele. Sorry, name's eluding me. I like the look of him. There's some quality in there. I suppose my only concern is we're not going to develop 3 or 4 new young players next season. You're probably going to find it's 1 or 2 maximum. And I just get the feeling that Collier and Amas could be the 2, if that makes sense. But either way, you know, them with it's there's also might be another one. There might be a young 16 turning 17-year-old striker coming through who we're hearing reports is going to be our 3rd choice striker. I mean, that's what's also interesting about the rest of this tour. Is he fit? Can we get him over here for the last game? Get him involved with the first team. I'm being genuine when I say this.
I know you've been serious. I know.
Just because, like, I think Ethan Wheatley's a good player, but there's no way he's part of the first team plans. That he's good. But you can just tell he's not going to be.
You wouldn't be hearing that you're the 3rd choice. Chido Obi Martin would be the third choice striker if Wheatley's good enough, or Wheatley's off that level. Because they'll be like, actually, no, you're going to fight out with Wheatley, and one of you two will be that 3rd choice guy. But he needs a loan. Some of the younger guys need a loan.
Left back as well. We have got Malassi.
You got Mayer.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
And you know what? Yeah?
Forgot he was here.
This new system might help him, because you saw the wing backs pushing a lot more forward than we're used to. And that Feyenoord, when he was obviously getting like all his plaudits and people actually want to look at him and to sign him, they were a lot more aggressive on the ball. They're a lot more forward thinking on the ball than what he's been doing at Man United. And hopefully he's over his injury issue, because he's not like an injury-prone player. He's just had one bad.
Yeah, I'd love to know what this injury. What the weirdest thing about this injury is that no one knows anything about it, which worries me a little bit in the sense of, was it a health issue more than an injury? Potentially, I know they've said it's an injury, but the only other time you see clubs cagey about this thing is when it's illness. Because why would you not just tell us?
Yeah, so the word on the street is that he had whatever injury he had, but he chose to go with his own medical team and own medical people over the clubs, and then they botched the surgery, which then now has lengthened his recovery. Because I remember he was supposed to be coming back at some point last season, and he had this big setback.
When I was younger, if you got a cruciate knee ligament injury, even at the highest level of sport, it was like an 18-month rest surgery, recovery, get fit period. That you see people now, sometimes it's 5 months and they're back with that because the level of medical care is so good. That's why it's weird that he's been out so long. Does that make sense? So yeah, that would make a lot of sense if it's been bodged and everything else. But yeah, I wouldn't buy another left back as per what we've already said. Excuse me, I got slept for the 24 hours staying up doing all these streams. This is super chat here. It says, I do think the injuries to Rasmus and Euro basically will make us not sell people. Don't think Victor is going to go now. I personally don't think we're going to sell Cass or Scott. We need their goals.
I know, Joshua Jack, I know you're more of the pessimistic side of a Man United fan. You're not bad. You're not like a super negative, but you are very cautious. And I understand why you think that, but at the same time, you don't go through all these negotiations with all these players that you want to sign just to be like, oh, 2 of our players are injured. Okay, no, we give up. We can't sell these guys now. We have to keep the same people in. Nah, it's not like you're trying to add. It's not like you're just selling people and that you're not trying to add. You're trying to replace. So because we're trying to replace, I can still see Scott going. I can still see Victor going. I can still see people going, and we're getting the players that we need. Because at the end of the day, Ineos haven't come here just to be reactionary to what's happening at the football club. They have a plan. So yes, Yara's been injured. They didn't plan for that. Højlund's injured again. They didn't plan for that. But they bought Xerxes for a reason. They've been targeting Brantford and or Felix for a reason. I would just be like, let's just chill. Let's wait until towards the end of the window before we start doing up. I'm worried that we're not going to sell the certain players.
Yeah, it makes... I get where you're coming from, PTSD and all that. However, Rasmus being sold out, it's going to be sort of 6 weeks. We've got Xerxes. We've got... I think it's more likely that Sancho doesn't go than McTominay. We're negotiating McTominay's sale. Him leaving is going to generate income for the likes of Ugarte. On Casemiro's not going. I think we've all got to accept that. He's staying. And I know a few people have criticized him in other games. I've actually been quite impressed with him this preseason. And I actually think with more legs around him, with a system that isn't going to expose his age, he'll have a decent season for us. And I'm fine with that. So I won't worry about Cass. But Scott, I think, will still be sold. Lindelof, as an example, again, where's the logic in our top new talented centre-back's injured? We've negotiated a deal for De Ligt, who's better than Lindelof. But what we're now going to decide to do is not sell Lindelof because Euro's injured. Now, you just sell Lindelof and bring in De Ligt, who hasn't even gone on the preseason tour with Bayern because he's waiting on this move. So for me, it's more about us waiting for the right money for these players. I can't bemoan that approach because I've kicked off that we haven't done that for 11 years. So I would become a huge hypocrite to go, well, no, let's just sell them at any price. Let's just clear the squad. No, we've got to sell them at the right price. And it looks like we're going to get close to £30 million for Scott McTominay, as opposed to accepting the first bid that came in at about 12.5. And that extra bit of money is what's going to help us sign these better quality players. But I do get the PTSD, Joshua Jack. I just think that we have to look at the way we operate differently now that we have proper football people running the club.
Yeah, Terry, a question. You mentioned Sancho there, that him not leaving. Are you open for him coming back? Because he's had his thing with Ten Hag, the apologizer, pull it under the bridge. He's been playing, and I think he's been playing well. Maybe not as good as Rashford or Ahmad, but I see him as an asset to the squad. I'm like, yo, out of all the attackers now that I thought we had to get rid of, it's basically only Anthony that I'm looking at. I'm like, yo, you've got to go.
Yeah, look, I think, again, I would be a big hypocrite to turn around and say that it's a clean slate for everybody and exclude Sancho. I'm going to keep the same energy for him as I've done for everybody else. Everybody at Man United up until this summer was working under a toxic, broken culture and system. And we've all said things about players. We've all made comments about players or managers or this is working, it isn't during that time. And we as fans have also been infected with the rot that the Glazers helped set in. And I don't know about every other Man United fan. I can only talk for myself, but I feel as a United fan, I feel fresh watching us. I feel excited. I feel as though there is light at the end of the tunnel. And and the reason why I'm open to it, it's not about my personal feelings. I don't have a personal issue with Sancho. I wasn't happy with a lot of his performances for us, but I also wasn't happy with the way the club treated him. And if you add those two things together, it maybe softened my criticism of him somewhat. But for me, it's about I'm trusting the people now running our football club. And some people have the outlook in life of you've got to earn my trust and respect. So until you've done a number of things that make me like and or trust you, I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I typically work in the opposite way, especially when it comes with people that have a pedigree to their name or experience to their name. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and the respect to begin with. And if I employ a web designer for the Football Terrace tomorrow, and I'm so impressed with his work, his attitude, he comes across brilliantly, I'm not going to employ him, and the first thing I do is go, by the way, I'm not going to trust you, you're not going to have my respect, and you have to prove to me you're good enough for this job before I show you any respect. That, for me, is a pretty toxic way of treating people, again, when you take the sort of theory of it and put it into reality. So I trust the people now running Manchester United. So to answer the Sancho question, it's if they are confident that he is working hard enough, the problems are behind him, the way we have treated him has now changed, and it could become fruitful for the club, then it's a decision that I can get behind in the short term. If he stays for a season, doesn't really deliver, doesn't perform consistently for us for one reason or another, then you can say, well, we've given it another go, hasn't worked, see you later. We're at the beginning, and I know this triggered rivals, but it's so true. We are at the beginning of a genuine club rebuild. Some of the players are going to have to go this summer, but we were never getting rid of a 23-man squad in one summer. There was always going to be players remaining from last season. We were never getting rid of anybody. And then what happens is certain players were going to step up. Certain players maybe don't look as good. You know, we're looking at Rashford today. Rashford was looking quite sharp. Rashford was looking decent. And I'm looking again, well, I don't know who it was that tweeted. Somebody tweeted saying, what's the manager going to do? Is he going to bring Garnacho back in on the left? Because Ahmad looked like he's got the right-hand side on lock. And I'm sitting there rubbing my hands together saying, at last. We're not saying, well, it can only be these two that play because no one else is in form. We're actually looking at it. So everybody's got a chance if you stay here next season. And who is available in the market, who we can bring in to replace you, who's willing to actually buy you, all these things we're going to dictate who should go. And one of the things I want to stick with philosophy-wise that I believe in is the first players I want out are the individuals that do not want to be here. So if Sancho was turned around and said, look, I really want to try and have another go, I would prefer that to somebody who is really open to leaving and hoping to leave. I don't really care who that person is. So, yeah I'm open to it. And I think he's played quite well during pre-season. It's the only element it's hard to judge. We've still probably got half of our first 11 not here.
Yeah.
So it's everybody. Like, how much better would Sancho look with those 6 players in our team? Probably even better. So, it's a big mixture.
And if you've got Ahmad, if you've got Sancho, you've got Rashford, and you've got Garnacho, you've got 4 wingers who collectively can play across the front three. Not front three, sorry, the 2 wide positions. And also, 2 of them give you creative sparks in Ahmad and Sancho, and 2 of them are goal threats in Garnacho and Rashford. So that just helps our team with balance. It just helps our team with different permutations, and whatever oppositions put at us, we've got the tools to deal with it. You can't let that go. You can't just say, you know what, Sancho, off you go because you're just trash, and Rashford, you're rubbish, and Garnacho's not good. Like, you can't just do that.
Yeah, of course. And there are reports from France that he is close to agreeing personal terms with PSG. And if that's true, and then it just transpires that he was happy to stay, but he preferred to leave, then equally, I'm very happy for him to go. This is for me. I'm just in a mindset of objectivity when it comes to Man United, where I don't want to allow my personal I don't have personal feelings towards Sancho. I don't think he's been a good enough signing, but I give Rashford a pass to a degree when I'm like, well, look at he's had to deal with since he's been a first team player, the different managers and systems, the up and downs. If Paul Pogba was damaged by this club, how the hell weren't Rashford and Sancho, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So, if Martial was damaged by the club, so was Sancho. So I think you've got to keep the same energy, but I want people here next season who really want to be here. That are really equally. There are some like Lindelof and McTominay who I just don't think are good enough that I also want to see moved on.
Yeah.
And I suppose I am in a sort of, I'm very forthright when it comes to that belief. But yeah, look, I think it's year one of the rebuild. In fact, it's month one of the rebuild. Inside year one, we were never getting rid of everybody, and this is where fans I think have got to learn to just be a little bit more grown up. Is it yes? I'm not sure what Staffy thinks of this, but I'll use Staffy as an example. Me and him, if we were to list of players that have to go this summer, there'd probably be some names that were the same and some names that were different. But for me, I'm not gonna. That's it. Don't trust any else now. They didn't get rid of the players that I wanted them to get rid of. I think that's sort. And I'm not saying Staffy thinks that. I'm using as an example that we have different views. Same as if he gets everyone gone that he wants and I don't, I'm not going to do that either. I think it's about being open-minded and trying to be as positive as you possibly can at the beginning of this rebuild, because the players are going to need it, because it isn't going to be perfect. We're not going to be amazing straight away. We're not going to be at Arsenal or Liverpool or City's level in the first 2 months. In my humble opinion, I don't think we'll be there. So what we need is encouragement, because it's not as though we've got a new squad. And I saw a rival say today, the manager, though, he spent over 500 million. How can you not have the same expectations on him as you do Arteta or Pep or what you had for Klopp? Well, or even like I have for Slot this season. But you all say how badly we've been run. You all laugh at how much money we've wasted. You laugh at how the coaching was poor. You laugh at how bad the medical team has been. You laugh at all these facets and elements of my club. Now that for the first time in 11 years, we're trying to address them. We're wiping the slate clean. We've redefined the manager's position. We're starting again. You're like, well, no, you can't start again because of all the stuff you've done before. What, all the stuff that you laughed at? All the stuff that you said was bad, all the stuff that you criticized. This is the problem. People are speaking out of both sides of their mouths when it comes to Manchester United. And I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing the panic and the frustration and the anger. It's great.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And even with like Man United fans and they're complaining about obviously the sales. But then I think sometimes fans don't look across the world of football and just see the market and the climate that teams are in. If Manchester City, who are renowned for getting rid of players who aren't good enough for their team within 2 years, can't get rid of Calvin Phillips or Cancelo permanently, then yeah, we're going to struggle. Arsenal struggling to get rid of. Look how long it took for them to get rid of Cedric and Arneni. They're trying to get rid of Nketiah. It's just not happening. You know what I'm saying? Like Liverpool, who they still got? They still got Tsimikas. You know what I mean? They still got all these. So every player, every club have these players that are just harder to sell than normal. And we go on, Dan.
No, I'm just agreeing with you, mate. And I think that's the element. When you feel, I feel like this is something not just football fans have got, that you've got to do this in real normal life. You might look at a situation and go, "This is terrible," but then you have to start to evaluate your position, investigate your position, and in a football intent, it's okay. We haven't sold enough people yet. I'm fuming, awful. As you've just said, who has? Who has? What's the market saying? If everybody's struggling to sell players and it isn't, your club isn't the anomaly that's doing poor, there is no reason to be outright angry about it. And I think that's the problem that I typically have with a lot of football fans in the modern day world. They have such tunnel vision. They are so shoebox. Their head's so down. They're almost so negative that they can't see the wider situation. Like we were talking about the other day, Standard FC believe, why would you give Amas and Collier a chance? Go out and buy a left back and go out and buy a midfielder that are better than them. Great. If you apply that to Standard FC, also think that every club should operate in the same way around the whole world. So if nobody gave young players a chance and developed them and just bought players that are already established that are better, I don't actually think there'd be enough players for everybody to put out first teams. But say there was, within 10 years, you've got no football players left because nobody's developed the youngsters. This is what I mean by any theory that people have. It's fine if they give an example of right now, Man United need to do this. That would make sense. But most of these people, they try and apply their logic to every club and every scenario and every single moment. And they are just outright wrong. Because as soon as you start to apply that logic or broaden your investigation into that thought process, you realize it falls down pretty quickly. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on with what you've said there. Terry, we need a serious look at the medical staff. I agree to an extent. Let me just say this. Rasmus's hamstring going, you could argue, are we overworking him in training and he pulled a muscle? Nobody else has pulled a muscle, though. Yeah, touch wood. But what's happened to Lenny? It's an impact injury that's broken a small bone on the top of his foot. That's not on the doctor. It's not on the medical team. Unless he was playing with a fractured bone and we ignored it, and there's no reports of that, this isn't a muscle injury. This isn't, he's red zoned. His body's in the red zone and they've played him. This wasn't, I've got this niggle and then in my hamstring and then it snapped. This is an accident. This doesn't even equate to somebody being injury prone. Nobody said that Aaron Ramsey was injury prone when somebody broke his leg. Oh my God, Arsenal's medical team are awful because a player had their leg broke. This is exactly the same principle. Man United's medical team can't be called bad because a player had a bone in his foot break for another person on the other team stepping on him. So for me, it's yes, it needs to be looked at, but there have been players added to it this year. And let's see how things work out. Yes, it's not a great start and it's annoying. It's like say Rashford's injured tonight. Mm-hmm. That's nothing to do with the medical team. His ankle and foot got trodden on. And that's where I think we have to,
that's funny about medical teams as well. Medical teams, you analyze them after the injuries occurred and how long they take to recover and are they making the right decisions and all these different things. That's when you analyze them.
It's the sports science team that you assess for the muscular injuries prior to things happening. Maybe the physios to a certain degree, because they're the individuals that are meant to be they're the ones that have the technology to predict where people's bodies are. The physios are looking at it and checking these things. That isn't really the doctors and the medical team's job per se. It's a combination. So when people say United got a really bad doctor, that's why their players are getting injured, prove that theory. And now the theory like, well, he was at Arsenal and had loads of injuries left and we don't have any injuries. I actually hope this doesn't happen because I don't ever wish injuries on anybody. So in reality, I don't want this to happen. But from a kind of academic perspective, if this year Arsenal was to get a lot of injuries when they didn't have them last year, does that suddenly mean last year's medical team had become bad? Or could it just be bad luck? Now, there's no doubt Man United's medical team made some really bad mistakes last year, but a lot of those people have gone. For instance, when Lissandro came back and we didn't check his foot properly and there was still a broken bone in it, cool. I also think some of the training methods last year were leading to injuries, and I'm hoping that's being addressed. But that is about the sports science team looking at that and the director of football. That is one of the responsibilities of Dan Ashworth. He understands football to look at it and go, hang on, what are we doing? Why are you running the players into the ground this way? So, look, I think there's a combination of things. I don't just think it's about you got a bad doctor, that's why all your players are getting injured. Least of all, Lenny Euros. Like it's a crazy one for me, but it's a stretch. But as we already know, people want to try and make everything about Man United. But is Luke Shaw still injured? Well, obviously not. He played in the final of the Euros, mate. He's on holiday. Although I actually would have liked to see him come straight back into the team because he can't be tired because he missed the last 6 months of the season.
No, Luke Shaw, man, he would have been on the stretcher already, man. You know what I'm saying? So you know what? Take as much rest as you need, Luke. Take as much rest.
No, I hear you. Look, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who was tuned in on That's Late. I'm going to get off the bed, get a few hours kit before starting work again tomorrow. KJ, always a pleasure. Everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. Well done, United, tonight. Decent performance and start of the season. We're in August now, so start of the season's coming fast, bruv. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.